He says, however, you were restored to favor. So what does it mean to be restored to favor? He says, well, he wiped that slate clean so that you could be restored to favor. But that's just another new starting point, because then he says that all of this only plays out if, indeed, you continue in the belief, founded and steadfast, all right? This is important because this is what's going to play out again when we get to Hebrews. Just because he called you, do we understand that he called Israel out of Egypt? Like he called all of them, right, at the same time? Right? Didn't he call them? Did they all get to go into the land? Because this was the problem. They didn't continue in the belief founded and steadfast. He says, and are not moved away from the expectation. They were moved away from the expectation of the good news. When you look at something like the book of Hebrews, one of the big things always, well, actually, when we look at anything in Scripture, is context. So the context for the book of Hebrews is what? The siege of Jerusalem. And so this is a letter to the believing body, who were mostly the Jewish body in the area, who was freaking out knowing where the siege ends up happening. The siege means at some point you lose. Now that meant that the temple and all of that stuff was going to go bye-bye. And don't you think that since that's the center of their lives, that they would be freaking out a little bit, knowing that that was about to go bye-bye? And so that's the context and the point of the letter to the Hebrews, is to tell them, hey, we get it, you're freaking out. But we have a high priest that doesn't need that building over there. No disrespect to the temple and the building and the Levites. He said, but that's about to go bye-bye. All right, well, but we have a high priest. But encourage one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened by the deceivableness of sin. So again, the deceivableness of sin is not so much just saying, for example, the idea of, well, I'm going to go steal, and it was a sin not to steal. So it said, thou shalt not steal, so I steal. No, he's talking about sin in the form of it draws you away from what he's trying to get you to do, what his plan is, and what his what you ascribe to. Because it's deceivable. In other words, it looked good. It looked right. You thought it was him, but it wasn't him. Isn't that the whole thing that happened in the garden? He says, but you guys, watch out. He says, look out, brothers, lest there be any of you with a wicked heart of unbelief and falling away from the living Elohim. That's the warning here. He says, what can get you off to the side is this thing called the deceivableness of sin. And with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with those who sinned, whose corpses fell in the wilderness? What sin did they do? They didn't trust him. That's a sin, by the way. They didn't trust him. They didn't believe him. They believed in him. In other words, they believed he existed. They didn't believe him. He said, go into the land. 2 people believed him. Everybody else believed in him. They said, okay, we saw what you did in Egypt, we believe you. But they didn't believe him. See, Christianity taught you to believe in, not to believe him. By the way, that doesn't get you anywhere, just believing he exists. Even the devil and the demons all know he exists. They all do. Everything in the spirit realm, they know he exists. But they don't believe him. They keep thinking they're going to win, they're right, they're whatever. They're not believing him. As a matter of fact, wasn't that the first test in the garden? Like, do you believe what he said? That's not what he said. He didn't say that. It's not true. He's afraid you're going to get some benefit here. He said, for indeed the good news was brought to us as well as to them. So this is for all you guys in Christianity were never told this. It was there in your book. You read it in Hebrews if you read Hebrews. But you wanted to focus on how this is all a new thing with Messiah. You didn't focus on all the other stuff that was said in Hebrews. It says here, they had the good news as well as us today. That's what the writer's saying. So this good news is not just the good news of Messiah coming, preaching, healing people, doing miracles, then dying and being resurrected. That is part of it, but that's all you know in Christianity. But wait a minute, it says the good news was brought to us as well as to them. Wow. They had the good news. By the way, he's been talking about those guys in m.t.o.i that came out in m.t.o.i. Long time before this is written in Hebrews, right? Lots of people did not like Moshe. Some of you, I don't understand that. He was so great. Well, you were not under that ministry at the time. And if he was here today, standing where I am, you'd like him just as little as you like me. No, he'd probably be worse. Certainly had as hard or maybe worse anger problem. But you guys all think, oh, well, I wouldn't be that way. Well, I don't know. You guys freak out about everything. You might be the same guys freaking out when they saw giants and tall walled cities and all these other things going on. And be like, I'm not going in there. You all claim you would be different, would you? How stupid would you think it would be when God said, I want you to walk around the city 7 times? And you'd be like, you know how tiring that would be? It's in the heat. And this is, you know what Jericho is. I mean, this is hot. And you're gonna walk around the entire city every day for 7 days. Seriously? How many of you after like the second or third day be like, seriously, I'm not doing this? Hello, Christians. I'm not trying to pick on you, but your Catholic church that you're protesting against, your Protestants, gave you Sunday, okay? And they're not keeping the 4th commandment and everything's all jacked up because you're not doing the Sabbath keeping. That's just not scripturally correct. But you were lied to, it's not your fault. And you wanna know, go ask your pastor about it and see how nice he treats you. Because some of you have done that. Aren't we supposed to be keeping the Sabbath? Well, we do Sunday now. What about the 4th commandment? Don't tell me you guys do Sunday like you do Saturday, like the rest of us do Saturday, because you don't. I mean, I see the signs out there, you know, gospel service at 9, contemporary service at 10, and so the service is an hour, and then you go off and do whatever you want, and I see you over there at the IHOP. You make it impossible for any of us Sabbath keepers to show up anywhere on a Sunday morning to get brunch. And that doesn't make me happy. If I want to go get eggs and pancakes, I can't even get in. Because you guys are not keeping the Sabbath on Sunday. But I'm just asking the question, is there a role of the ministry in facilitating this to some extent? The idea of cutting like a sword, dividing of the being and spirit of joints and marrow. That's when you come to us and we make you look at you. And we pull away all the BS. If you don't like letters of the alphabet, sorry. But you clear out all of that stuff, and then you have to look at the reality. And guess what? Very few of you like that. Some of you appreciate it. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some of you appreciate it immediately. Some of you appreciate it later. But a lot of you don't like it at all. And then you get all mad at us, and all of a sudden we're the worst thing since ever invention, and then you yell and blame us. Doesn't matter what kind of relationship we had before that. We stepped over a line. What line? I don't know. Let's see. We were cutting with the sword and separating the being and the joints and the marrow, and that's what we did. What is the point of even doing what you can do? But you won't. You just don't want to do it. You're unwilling to do it. So then why should he be willing to do it? Because you want to be enabled. You want the creator of the universe to codependent with you. Then you come to us and think we're going to be codependent with you. That ain't happening. Then you get mad at us because other people have been codependent with you, and then something happened and they finally gave up and said, I'm not doing that anymore. So you come looking for us. Not interested in the job. Because my job is to help you own you so you can become him. Let me say this maybe more clearly, straight out. I don't believe you can transform and become him till you own you. That's me. I'm owning it as me. I don't believe. I believe scripture backs it up. I don't believe you can transform into him in any real way until you own you. All are naked and laid bare. What does that mean? It means your clothing isn't hiding anything, metaphorically, right? Because you think you're covering everything up with whatever you're covering it up, but he can't see it. He says, no, you're laid bare, which means that he's got the x-ray eyes. He sees all the way down into your mind and your heart. He knows what's going on. You think you're dressing it all up and putting on, Yeshua said that even in Matthew 23 to the Pharisees and the scribes. He said, woe unto you, you hypocrites, right? He says, you all look all good on the outside, but inside it's all dead man's bones. He said, so some of you dressed it up pretty good. And meanwhile, he says, you are all naked and laid bare before the eyes of him whom is your account. He's going to hold you to account.